everybody. I am Dallisa Hawking. I am your host for this Halloween spooky special. I'm excited to have two very special guests with me. I'll be introducing them here in just a moment. Patrick and Karen will be joining me. I'm a fifth generation psychic medium. I'm the CEO of Spirit and Spark. More about me later. But we have a very interesting episode we created especially for Halloween. And we're going to be answering some viewer questions. You submitted some doozies. We're excited to get into those. And we each have a real life spooky story that we're going to share with you just in time for Halloween. So without further ado, I'm going to bring my two very special guests on, Patrick Keller and Karen Dalman. Welcome to the show.
Hey.
Yeah, this is fun. We're going to have a great time. I have to acknowledge, Patrick, what are you wearing?
The story about, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
The story about this costume is last year I had a virtual Halloween party to show up to on Zoom. And so I was like, oh, I need a costume. And I went to Target. And the last 2 years, Halloween stuff has been selling out like fast, right? Mm-hmm. Like people are so excited to celebrate Halloween with the pandemic and everything. So by the time I got to Target, this was pretty much the only thing left. And it fit on my giant head. And I said, okay. There you go. So I just had it still in my studio here. And so I suppose I'm an astronaut.
Yeah. And I suppose I showed up with no costume.
And I suppose Patrick is a space cadet too.
Oh, that is accurate. See, that's what I should have said at the beginning.
Karen, I love your headband. You are also ready to rock and roll for this spooky Halloween episode.
I am. I always am ready to rock and roll when it comes to Halloween. You guys, my life is like spooky all the time. I'm always talking to spirits. But I had to bring my little friend, my little cat friend with me, my little skeleton cat friend. And by the way, this back here, this is Bear's, my cat named Bear. This is his costume this year. He's going to put this on his little head. He doesn't know it yet, but he's going to be a shark. That's a shark.
You'll have to let me know where you got your cat costumes because Frankie the cat is definitely going to be in a costume.
Okay, so my cats, I have one cat left, but my other cats are in spirit. My cats get either a Halloween costume or a Christmas costume, and they get to alternate and they trade them out. But now it's just Bear. Bear gets to wear them all. Lucky Bear.
Oh my gosh, we're gonna have so much fun. Before we get into the first viewer question, I would love for the two of you to introduce yourself. So Patrick, do you want to go first and just give us a quick intro?
I will, and I'm going to take this off really quick so that I can talk correctly since it squeezes my face off. Oh, okay. Oh, and oh my gosh. Now, who's that one artist, singer dude? The hair looks like that. Okay, sorry.
It does.
So, I am the host of the Big Séance podcast, Patrick Keller at bigseance.com. And I'm just otherwise a paranormal, spiritual Halloween nerd. And I'm also a teacher. So I've had a really long, rough week already. And I'm so excited to nerd out talking about things I love. And Karen has also been a guest on my show multiple times. And Dallisa, you have also been a guest on my show too. That's our connection, I guess. And you ladies rock. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, the Big Séance podcast. It's real good. So everybody better go wherever you listen to your podcast and go subscribe and listen to some of Patrick's episodes. So yeah, you've been doing some cool stuff lately. I saw you had the Hocus Pocus stuff going on, right?
It's been kind of a Hocus Pocus theme this season, and I hope to maybe have one more Hocus Pocus episode coming out soon. I hesitate to even say it because it's going to be a really cool one. I have an agreement, but no interview yet. But and if it doesn't happen, it'll still be cool. We'll do some stuff, but hopefully, cross your fingers.
Yeah, so all those Hocus Pocus movie fans, go listen to Patrick's episodes. Beautiful. Well, thanks for joining me. Let's move right along to Karen. Karen I met through Patrick, and Karen has done a reading for me, and I'll tell you, Karen was right. She predicted I was going to move to this particular part of Texas, and I was like, really? Because at that point, I was up in Washington and Idaho, kind of looking around up there. So she called it. So Karen, tell us a little bit more about you.
Hi, everybody. It's great to be here with Patrick and Dallisa. So I was on Dalisa's show, Patrick's show, and it's just we've always had a good time when we get together. So it's exciting to be here with you two and with the audience as well. So what I do is I work with the Ouija board, talking boards, spirit boards. That's what I'm known for. And I do spirit communication. I also do readings. Dallisa had one from me, she just mentioned. But I'm really into all things about spirit. Now, typically, my experiences aren't too spooky, although I've had some that are, which I will share one of those with you guys today. But typically, my experiences are more about growth and enlightenment and moving forward in your life, but yet, some really cool, fun things happen along the way, and I'll share that later.
Yeah, I love it. I saw you on Gaia TV, and then the universe just magically brought us together through Patrick.
Oh, so you knew Karen before?
I didn't know her, but I saw her on Gaia TV. I was like, oh, she's so interesting.
Cool, yeah.
I forgot to tell you that, Patrick. So yeah, then you have her on your show. She's like, oh my God, I already knew who you were because you're on Gaia. And I was like, oh yeah, true.
Duh, it was meant to be.
I see.
Duh. All right, let's jump into our first viewer question. Thank you to everybody who submitted them. We're going to get to as many as we can today. But let's go ahead and see what the first one is, and then we'll weigh in. So here we go. Oh, nope, just kidding.
Surprise.
All right. We're gonna try that again. All right, so who hangs around us on the other side? Who hangs around us? Is it angels? Is it guides? Is it family members? Karen, I'll go to you first. Who do you believe, based on your experience with the talking board, the Ouija board, what do you think, who hangs around us on the other side?
I'm going to go with all the above. It's a range, you guys. There's like a confluence of energies that exist around us at any given time. I mean, whether it's spirit guides, your angels, your guardian angels, your loved ones, your deceased transition pets. I prefer to call it transition than death or deceased, because they're just transforming into another, they're light bodies, you could call it that. We don't have the right words, but yeah, they're all around you. Okay, this begs the other part of that question. Are they always watching? No, you still get privacy. It's not like they want to, see all those other things you do that are in private. It's really more about, are they there to help you out, whisper in your ear, orchestrate events behind the scene, like synchronistic events, to give you messages in your dreams, or just to watch over you, That's what they're there for, because they love you so much. And I've got to say, it's not just one or two or three. We have a legion of other helpers in the other spirit dimensions. Dallisa, what do you think? What do you know?
I agree with you. I think that they don't ever die. I think that the energy then goes on to another dimension, another space, but that they're still able to be around us and to communicate with us. And especially this time of year right now with Halloween, the veil is thin. And it's why I think so many people are intrigued by, getting readings or having a mediumship session, because they feel the presence more now this time of year than they do really any other year or any other day or month of the year, I would say. But Patrick, what do you think?
I also think all of the above. And I, different from you two, I can't speak in a, like as if I know, because I don't. But, I've had little experiences like everyone else has. And I tend to think there are people we want to be around and probably some people we don't want to be around. And all I know is that I'm one of those people who wish they would let me know that they're around more often. Like, I would love to just have straight up conversations with so many spirits up in here all the time if they would, allow me to talk to them. So I'm always wanting it to happen more, but I remember that being a big question. And I noticed that's, Karen, was it you who said that, you know, like, when are they watching us? Are they watching us all the time when we don't want them to be watched? And I remember that was one of when I first started my spiritual shift and started reading the books and kind of left a lot of dogma and things behind. I remember that being a big question, like, okay, for real.
Yeah.
Are they watching me in the bathroom? Are they
Right.
watching me, you know? So it's funny that that tends to be a big question when people first come to this journey. It's like, when are they watching me?
Yeah, because you want to
Yeah,
be comfortable and be yourself, and the last thing you want to do is think, "Oh my God, I'm on edge." But because I communicate with the deceased people, you guys, and they tell me they're there when you want to call upon them. They're not going to come unless you call upon them, and so you know you got the sense of privacy. And plus, they were human before, and even your spirit guides, they don't want to go with you into the bathroom either. You know, there's privacy there, and it's they're. And by the way, a lot of the spirit guides don't even see what we see physically. They'll see energies and vibrations, and they read that vibration. So it's not like they're seeing you in your body form. Most of the time they're not. So just FYI, something else to think about. I want to say one more thing about Patrick. Patrick, you do EVPs and you've had some good ones. So you have had some communication.
You know, I'm never comfortable saying that they're for sure communication,
Right.
because, you know, Karen knows, and Dallisa, you might know too, that I have an annoying brain and I fight with myself constantly. It's pretty much 50-50 down the middle. And so in the same thought, I will tell myself, wow, you must be crazy thinking that's paranormal. And then also in the same thought thinking, oh my gosh, that has to be paranormal. I sure hope it is, because that would be awesome. And so I argue with myself all the time, and it drives me nuts. But yeah, I do have a lot of examples. Sometimes I just call them, what do I call them? Artifacts. You know,
Yeah,
I feel
yeah.
comfortable saying because there's so many people that are like, oh, and then these are my EVP samples because these are EVP. And if you want to think that, that's cool. I don't feel comfortable ever saying that, you know.
And tell us what EVP stands for the people that don't know.
EVP stands for electronic voice phenomenon if it's singular, or voice phenomena if it is plural.
I know I knew I could get Patrick going and Dallisa going too. See that?
I love it. All right, let's go.
Influence.
You're a great influence. Let's go on to the next question. Do certain people attract more spirit activity? Do certain people attract more spirit activity? I think spirit's all around us. I think we can get communication from spirit. I think anybody can work the muscle to get messages. That you can become psychic. You can study and practice and become a medium, a conduit if you want. So I think it's more that some people can see it and experience it more, maybe because their filter is down or they've worked the muscle. But I think spirit is communicating with all of us. What do you think?
Yeah, I was going to say ditto, but yeah, I want to say it's not that some people experience it more than others. It's that they're always surrounded. It's a constant stream of flow of vibration. It's just some of us take the time to notice, but it's there for everybody, you guys. And so I so 100% agree with Dallisa in terms of the act of we can develop this skill. It's like just working a certain muscle and learning to develop it over time, how to use it.
Patrick?
Myself, and again, Karen knows this, and Karen in many ways has coached me through a lot of, spirit communication type things, and has sat with me at the Ouija board. And I think in many ways, I kind of turn things away because of maybe my, like I said, my skeptic side. I think I shut that down, unintentionally. And I think sometimes people have a problem with that. I think you have to really open yourself up to it and be okay with that. Not that I haven't had any experiences, but I do think that that's a problem with me, and just because of the way my brain is built. But I can also tell you that, oh man, what was I going to say? I totally had a brain fart. I had a brain fart, y'all. I have teacher
Do you
brain.
eat candy corn? Do you eat candy corn?
I do eat candy corn, except for when I'm on keto and have just lost some weight. So we're going to see if I can avoid the candy corn. Although I will tell you, I just got some hand soap that smells like candy corn.
Oh man.
I feel like I'm cheating on my diet every time I wash my hands because it smells so delicious.
I'll tell you what, if I had that, I'd want to eat it then. You know, I'd want to go get some candy corn. So I guess I don't keep candy in my house. I don't do any of that. But I gotta say, congratulations to Patrick because he has lost a bunch of weight. Really, really good stuff you're doing there.
Thank you. I am trying.
You're doing it.
You're doing it. Do or do not. There is no try.
That's right.
Yes. And I do. I feel much, much better.
Aw.
And that was the point. You know, there's nobody up in here trying to be a swimsuit model. It's all about health. And
speak for yourself.
Right.
I barely got my hair dry in time. Oh my gosh.
I meant up in here. I meant up in here. This up in here, right here.
Okay.
That's what I meant.
Too funny. All right, let's do one more question. And then Karen, I'm going to toss it to you here in a minute to tell your spooky story. So the next question we have is, if you've asked a deceased loved one to watch over you, does it mean they can't watch over someone else at the same time? I thought this was such a great question. So what do you think, Karen?
Well, yes, they can. I'm going to say something here about spirit. When I say spirit, I'm talking about whether it's angels or guardians or guides or deceased transition people. They're non-local, you guys. Spirit's non-local. Therefore, it could be in many places at once. Now, here's a story, you guys. So one of my friends, Rosemary Allen Guiley, who transitioned a while ago, not too long ago, but like a year and a half ago. After she transitioned, we started communicating through the board. And she also communicates through dreams with people in some other ways as well. But one of the things she told me, she said, being here is like a cacophony of sound. She says, I can be involved with a conversation with one person, such as my husband, Joe, and at the same time be involved in a conversation with you, Karen, yet I won't get lost in any of the translation or what's coming through. I will get it simultaneously and have full on big open conversation with the two people at the same time. Or it could be 5 or 6 or 7 or 10 or 20, 100. It's exponential, she says. It's because you have an ability. It's like you are not limited by time-space continuum. You have an ability just to open up and hear it all and be engaged in every single one. So I'm just saying, that's that person who's communicating with, let's say it's your, here's a friend. She's a friend of many people, and other people are also communicating with her too. So that's how it works, at least in my experience.
Yeah, I feel like they're everywhere. Mm-hmm. They're not conditioned to just speaking with you at one time. I think that's our human brain. Our human brain thinking it has to be in order. And spirit's like, I can be everywhere and everything all at once. And so that's just the limiting, human brain. But we'll all experience it when we cross over. Yeah, Patrick, do you have anything you want to add to this one?
Yeah, I do believe. I mean, I've always felt like it is probably possible. All I know is that as many times as I have asked my loved ones, past loved ones, to send me a sign or pay attention or, have me pay attention and look for little cues of communication, as quickly as I always forget and go about my life, like I will always ask for a sign or say, okay, Grandma, I'm going to bed. If you want to talk to me now, do it. Or I'll be looking tomorrow, come visit me tomorrow. And then, of course, we go about our day and things get crazy and forget. So I hope as many times as I've asked my loved ones to visit me, I hope that they go and visit somebody else when I stop paying attention, rather than just follow me around all day hoping that I pay attention. But I also want to say that I actually did a joint experiment with Randall Keller, who is no relation, although we like to pretend like we're cousins.
Oh,
he has done a lot of research, and he's in the Baltimore area. And for like a week or two, we did some experiments where we each sat at our own location, me in Missouri, him in Baltimore, and we did some things like he had a secret word, didn't tell me, or I had a secret word, didn't tell him. And we did it on a regular schedule and said, okay, my friend Randy is in Baltimore. If you're with us and are willing to help us out, can you also go speak to Randy? And he would kind of do the same thing. And then we would analyze the audio. And I don't remember us having anything that was like for sure evidence of, we called it, what do you call it? By location, I guess, being able to just, or at least if not being somewhere at the same time, at least really quick, like being there and then being here, which I think is probably possible. And so I hadn't thought about that experiment in years. And then all of a sudden I'm like, oh, wow, that's right. We did do that experiment. I don't know that there's anything impressive to share about it, but.
Oh, I was going to say, did you guys get each other's secret password or anything? Did that come up?
I don't remember. And my brain, if we got something kind of sort of that could possibly.
Oh, I forget. Yeah. Never mind. Move on. Next.
Yeah.
Peace out.
All right. With that, let's toss it to Karen. Karen, I want to hear your spooky stories. What do you have?
Okay. So you guys, I love good ghost story, like an apparition story, especially when it comes to Halloween. All right. So this is my apparition story. I've had several throughout my life. They're not like all the time. This is one that was so memorable to me because it happened when I was on a vacation doing nothing with the Ouija board, talking board, doing nothing with spirit communication. And then it just happened. And I'm only going to tell you the first part of it because it's a very long story. If you want to hear the rest of it, got to get this book and it's in here. But so what I want to tell you is it's a story. I call it the Teresa Stermi story. So I was with my girlfriend. We were traveling to Mexico on a golf trip. This is several years back. And we were getting up early every morning to hit the links. There was a big thing was golfing or to go sightsee a little bit. So we go to bed early one night. We're sharing a hotel room and I'm in the bed that's furthest away from the bathroom. I have to get up and go to the restroom. So I get up out of my bed, boom. Right in front of me was a full-on apparition. Well, it was from the waist up of this woman with dark hair pulled up in a comb, great big bodice sleeves going down. And it looked like something from the late 1800s, like the Victorian era. And as soon as I saw her, she went, boop. I mean, it was for a few seconds. And I went, boop. And I jumped into my friend's bed and said, get up. Oh my God, there's an apparition in here. She goes, what are you talking about? You're not afraid of ghosts. I said, not that I'm afraid of ghosts. It just popped up in front of me. I go, what do you do? She goes, let's see if it's still here. She's like, go back to bed. So I have to keep the lights on when we go back to sleep because that was like a little freaky. Yes, I'm used to talking to spirits, but I'm not used to them just popping up. So unbeknownst to me, on the nightstand that was next to me between our beds, she had placed a glow-in-the-dark planchette right there pointing at me. It's like call 1-800-CALL-KAREN kind of thing. I didn't even see it. She got it out as a joke. She did bring her glow-in-the-dark Ouija board with her too. I had no idea she brought that. But I'll tell you a little bit more of the story and then I'll tell you, and then you'll have to figure out where it goes next. We're going to read my book to find that out. But the next part of the story was, so I see this apparition full on. And so in the morning I go downstairs for breakfast and I speak to our waiter and I said, fantasmas en la cuarta. I think I'm saying ghosts in my room or something like that. Esa noche, like this night or something. I broke in Spanish, of course. He's like, fantasmas. I said, do you speak English? He's like, actually, I do. I'm like, okay. I said, all right. Has anybody talked about a spirit being here that roams around through the hotel? Okay, so let me just tell you this part of the story. This is an all-adult inclusive hotel. There's no kids there, but they said, as a matter of fact, this morning, there's this little child that's ran through the dining area and somebody ran after her and then she just disappeared. She didn't go through a door or nothing. And I was like, are you kidding me? Okay. I said, well, does there happen to be another spirit there? Like maybe a woman? He goes, oh, how do you know? I go, well, because it was in my room last night. He goes, okay, well, this is what, and then I said, what does it look like? And he said, well, he goes, I haven't seen it, but people that work outside, once in a while they'll see a woman walk by the beach line, by the ocean line, and she's got this big white poofy dress on, dark hair up with a comb. I said, bingo. And I had already told my friend that, so she knew. She's like, oh yeah, that's what she saw last night. I go, that's what I saw. Now, the story doesn't end there. And I'm not going to show you more because I can go on.
This story. Finish your book. Finish your book.
But I will say this, you guys, I did get on the Ouija board and talk to her. So the story's in here. It's a dang good story. It's probably one of my best apparition stories. And it doesn't end there. Let me just say that.
Oh my gosh. I love that so much. Woo!
Yeah,
I
it was
remember
good.
it well because I've read the book.
That's right. It was a spooky story. I'll just say that.
Yeah, it creeped me out. I got the chills. Oh, we got an echo.
Oh, is that Patrick's head echoing?
All right, let's see. There we go. I think we're good. Let's go to our next question, or next viewer question. Thanks for sharing that, Karen.
You betcha.
Woo! Yeah, I could feel the spirit.
Oh, it was intense. That's all.
Oh yeah. Okay, so next question is it easier for spirits to communicate with us around Halloween? If so, why? And I think I kind of answered that a little bit earlier, but about it being a special time of year and the veil between us and the other side being thin. But do either one of you have anything else you want to add to that and why it might be easier to communicate during this time of year?
I would say, if anything, I have opened myself up to believing that it might not have as much to do with that. And I think I've developed that opinion after reading some books and, talking with people. But I do remember when I first started paranormal investigation, I would try to do all of our stuff in the fall because I thought, oh, well, of course, if I want activity, I'm going to do everything in the fall. But of course, that's not possible to do that. And I also wonder sometimes about weather. It does. If a storm is, brewing, that's also kind of one of those stories that people talk about. If it's storming and lightning outside with lots of charged energy, is it easier to communicate with people?
Yeah, I kind of have a theory too about it that maybe it's, I do think the veil is thinning in general, as we go along in time. But I also think maybe it has to do with the collective, people thinking it's Halloween, spirits are here. And so that concentrated energy and focus on Halloween actually just brings more attention to it, but that they're there all the time. But yeah, Karen, what do you want to add to that?
Yeah, I think that's great. I agree with what you said, Dallisa, about that. It's a collective thing, a universal thing. The other thing, there's two directions I want to go. One is the guys have spoken to me about these time of years when it's an auspicious energy, where people gather and are enjoying themselves or having fun, and it tends to be holidays, right? So even like Thanksgiving, even like Christmas or New Year's, or it could be Easter, it could be Halloween. It's when people collectively, even around the world, it's like you create this magnetic energy, this attractive energy of celebration, and we can ride that wave. Now, having said that, I also want to say, though, All Hallows Eve and then Saints Day the next day, there's a reason why all the traditions, religions really want to celebrate those 2 days, because they felt like in their tradition of years gone by in the past of antiquity, that was a time to really honor the dead, Dia de la Muerte. So it's all those things like that. It's like collective energy built up upon that time. And I say, ride that wave. I mean, go into it. And I agree to the veil's thinning. So it makes it a little bit easier now. When we say the veil's thinning, what does that mean? What that means is consciousness is expanding, and we believe we're not just in the confines of our own mind or a brain or a body. We believe there's so much more of ourself that exists beyond this corporeal existence, which allows us to tap into it. So I say, yes, do it, try it. This possibility is there because of the energy. But also, as Patrick said, you could do this any time of the year. In fact, I will use the Ouija board anytime, any place, whenever, wherever, because I find that it's really just me and my intentions.
I ditto that.
Yeah.
Exactly. Patrick, we lost you for a second. Your screen went dark.
You didn't lose me. I had to blow my nose. And I decided to do it discreetly.
Okay.
It was so discreet. You just completely disappeared.
I thought it was part of the vanishing act we're going to do later or something.
Boo! Happy Halloween.
Yeah, exactly.
Disappearing act for sure. Okay, next up, viewer question. I love these questions, are so great.
They are.
Do scary Halloween costumes actually scare off evil spirits? If so, how does it work and why does it work? So what are your thoughts around scary Halloween costumes warding off evil spirits or ghosts? What do you think?
I do not think that is a thing.
Perfect. All right, moving right along. Karen, what do you think?
Well, listen, they really did wear costumes. Patrick, you know some of this from our show we did. We did full folklore and mythology. They did wear some costumes to either enhance or remind themselves of their ancestors or to scare. So there's a little bit of that going on for sure in the cultures. Come on, Patrick, did you forget all that stuff we learned?
No, I didn't.
Okay.
I think maybe people thought that would do it.
Yeah, right. Does it really do it?
Right. I think if someone is really evil, and I don't really think they're going to care about a Target costume.
Mm. Especially not an astronaut costume.
No.
No, I don't think so. All right, I think we agree on that then. Let's see here. Let me go to the next question. And then, Patrick, I'll actually toss it over to you here in just a minute to tell us your story. So let's do this next viewer question. What do spirits think about Halloween? Do they look forward to it? So it's kind of along the same lines of the scary Halloween costume. So are there spirits on the other side that are like, woohoo, it's going to be Sunday? Like, I don't think they really care. But, what do you think?
Well, I think there's an element here again. I want to talk about that vibration. Anytime we have joy or excitement or fun. Now, if Halloween's not fun for you or scary, then it's you're not going to really have that opportunity to raise the spirits, if you will. Because when we raise our own inner spirit, it makes it easier to connect with spirit. So having that different vibration, that's how I reach the spirit guides or different beings that I communicate with is through my energy. So I say, if that's what will attract the spirit to you.
And I would say that when I cross over, I might not cross over right at the very beginning.
I don't think you should either.
And this is a question I've asked a lot of mediums that I have on my show, because I am seriously curious, because sometimes some mediums, they have that whole, you must go into the light when you see it because the light will disappear after a while. And if you don't go in, you'll be trapped and you'll be earthbound for life. And I'm like, I don't believe that, but at the same time, I don't know. So I will ask mediums. I'm like, I want every day to be Halloween when I cross over. I want to go visit people and help people communicate and spook some people out, like seriously. And I will love that and have fun doing that. But I'm like, is that wise? Should I? Is that, or can I really just that easily cross over and have everything be, over on the other side, go check out the Hollow Books, hang out there all day long, see Jesus, Buddha, everybody, and then come back down for Halloween anytime I want? I hope so.
I think you go between all of it.
I do too.
I hope that's true. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I feel.
I think it's free will. I think you can travel. You could traverse the realms, right? You're going to say, Dallisa?
Yeah, I was just going to say, Patrick, tell us your scary story. But yes, I back you up on that, Karen. All right, Patrick, what do you got?
All right, so this is probably my spookiest story that I have. And I think I may have even told you this already, Dallisa. I don't remember. I've told it a few times on my show. Back when I used to do a little more paranormal investigation, this would have been probably before I even started the podcast. I was probably just blogging at the time at Big Séance before it was transitioned. And I was, trying to work the content on my blog. And I had that month, it was probably August, September, I had 2 Séance experiments that I had planned with a medium friend of mine, and we had sitters, and I had done research for it, and we had planned past like mediums who passed on decades ago. We wanted to reach out and communicate and all kinds of cool stuff. So I was kind of stressed from that. We had just had one a couple nights before this experience happened. And then also that same medium friend pulled me in on she was helping a family. There was a family that was going through some stuff, having some activity in their home. And she said, I really need some help. I would also like kind of a legit investigation along with this. Will you, help me? So I went and I did this on my own. I took all my equipment and had a really cool experience with the family, investigated together as a family, as I think it probably should happen, when a lot of times when these situations happen. And that was an all night thing. Plus I'm, working and being a teacher and all that. So I'm stressed and I have all of this experimentation and this paranormal investigation that I'm doing. And all of a sudden, this was like the next night, I think, from that paranormal investigation. It might have been a couple days later. So I'm sleeping. I'm in bed. My husband is sleeping. And I wake up in the middle of the night. I don't want to say, I would love to say it was 3:00. It was the bewitching hour, that kind of thing. But it was in the middle of the night. And I just instantly wake up, and I have only experienced this that night 1 or 2 times. I think the next night I might have experienced it too. But when you wake up and you are instantly that cold, really cold feeling, and I knew that something was with me. Something was with me. This is the only time that has ever happened. I don't tend to get those intuitive feelings at all. And I remember, and I was awake. I know that. In my mind, I'm going, okay, visualize white light, white light, white light. Like I'm trying to think positive thoughts because I'm like, there's something not right going on here. So I'm sitting there and, my heart's racing also. Like I'm feeling my heart racing. And even my skeptic brain in the middle of this moment is thinking, isn't there something like men shouldn't sleep on one side of their, when they're because of their heart and they'll have. And so I'm going, oh God, do I need to move from my side? So I did. I was on one side and I moved to my back. And I sat there thinking, okay, nope, heart's still racing. I am freezing cold. Something is here. Then all of a sudden, legit, a hand pops up from the side of my bed, grabs my shoulder, and I take my opposite hand, on the other side of me, I reach instinctively and grab for the hand. I grab the hand. Intuitively, okay, because I didn't see it. Intuitively, it is like a cold, black, like bony hand, and it retreats as soon as I grab it, and it goes off to the side of my bed. I sit there, and I don't tend to be afraid of things that are paranormal. I've gone into, empty, dark, abandoned houses by myself. It is kind of scary, but I've survived, right? I did not get out of my bed. I was like,
oh wow.
I sat there freaking out. I'm like, am I asleep? Am I awake? What is it? My heart's racing. And the first thing I thought of, and this is funny, I get my iPhone and my husband's sleeping, not even knowing any of this stuff is going on. I get my iPhone, I hit record on the voice memos, and I hold it out like this. And I go, is there anything you want to tell me?
Oh, you're doing EVPs.
I wanted to try, and I also wanted to prove to myself later that I was awake. So I let it record for a couple of minutes, and then I put the phone down, and I sit there, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm wound up. I don't know if I'm going to be able to go to sleep. And so it starts to feel better. I breathe, I pray. I'm, hearing the angels, white light, white light. I finally eventually go to sleep. I wake up the next morning. I press play on the recording. The recording is there, and it is silent. Nothing happens. So I know I pressed the recording. I will still sometimes argue with myself about whether I was fully awake before the hand, if I dreamt the hand. Even if I did dream the hand, I'm like, that was something, and that was the first time I'd ever considered, can you bring things home with you? Like a hitchhiker type thing. And I don't know that it was evil or dark or negative, but I always tell people to be careful because I'm like, you never know. It could just be Aunt Edna trying to reach out, and that's the only way she can do it or whatever. But that was the creepiest thing. And I've never seen an apparition. I don't have a ton of experiences, but that experience I will never, ever forget, ever.
Wow. That is a spooky Halloween story.
Yes.
Happy Halloween.
Yeah, happy Halloween, y'all.
Yeah, tonight everyone will be going to bed and they're going to be like, is there anything under my bed? Are there any hands coming up?
Sleep tight.
Yeah, that's scary. So it was a disembodied hand, you think, or you weren't sure if there's a body connected to it?
I don't know that there was a body connected to it, but and I didn't see it. But when I grabbed for it, the way my memory works, somehow I knew it was cold to the touch, and I felt a hand, and it was a cold, black, like bony hand.
Ooh.
And then it retreated and it was gone. Now, even if that was something that, you know, maybe I was in some, like, what is it? Is it hypnopompic or
hypnagogic state?
Maybe I was in some kind of hypnagogic state. You know, people have like the hag, you know, where
the hag sits on your chest and can't breathe.
Sleep paralysis. Could it have been some kind of sleep paralysis type thing? Maybe. But I woke up at some point because I have the recording.
Yeah, and you also believe something happened, and you haven't had that again. So it's just, you know, who knows what it was, right? But that's what makes a paranormal experience. We don't know. So it's a great story. I don't think I've heard that one before. I was going to say, Patrick, do you remember the Skinners showed us that one video of theirs when they were doing those investigations, and that hand, literally in a video, we saw it. This hand comes around the.
Dalisa's going, I am never having these two freaks on my show.
No, we're freaks. We go investigate these people. I'm like stressed now because they got these hands come just bite. We saw them on videos. Do you remember that?
I do remember, and it was
spooky.
We were totally fine in this house because Karen and I stayed at this old haunted castle house.
There was stuff in there.
And did we stay 2 nights or 1 night? I don't even remember.
2 nights. 2 nights.
So we might have stayed the first night. The first night it was like, oh, this is so nice. But then all of a sudden, the second evening, Mr. Skinner showed us some stuff on video, and all of a sudden that night, Karen was like, I've never.
I don't want to. I was in the haunted room. I go, I don't know if I can do this again, Patrick. Keep the door open.
Was like, will you come stay with me, or can we trade rooms? And I was like, Karen, did that freak you out?
You're like, you asked for it. You're going to stay in there. You made your bed. You're going to lay in it.
Oh my gosh.
We have a good time on investigations, but we are serious about them too. We laugh, but we're serious about it too.
Yeah. Yeah. They can be really legit, very terrifying. I hope that everybody watching this, because we're obviously premiering it today on Halloween, and I hope that everybody watching is commenting. And, you know, Karen told us her story about the full body apparition. Patrick now has told us about his story with the cold, dark hand. And these are true stories. We're not making this up for Halloween cheap thrills. Like, this stuff actually happened. So let's keep it going with a couple more viewer questions, and then I'll share my Halloween story. Karen, I'm going to toss this question to you. Okay. Somebody asked, are Ouija boards for real? And if so, are they accurate?
Well, this is a very tangible, real thing. I know that's not what you mean, but it is real. But I know it's, yeah. Oh, look at your cute little one.
Even my trackpad.
Well, hold on a sec. Here's my trackpad. You guys were into this, okay? We're into it. Okay, so, so you guys, it's the deal. They can work. And why can they work? If you work. So it's not this tool, you guys. If this thing's doing nothing, it's me. Whoever, it's the operator of the tool. If this thing's going to work, does that mean we're sitting there pushing it on our own accord? No, but I'm not opposed to the eating motor, which means you have muscle movements that work through your subconscious brain. I'm not opposed to spirits are working with me with this as well. I'm not opposed that there's anything, a number of things going on. But yes, they do work. Yes, because I work, I know how to channel. Anybody that's using this tool, it's just nothing more than a fancy way of channeling. It's no different than maybe using, here's a witch's oracle deck that I use. You know, you use your own abilities. Here's a scrying tool, a ball, crystal ball. Because you scry for a lot of different things, or you get messages, and so it does work. Now, the second part of that question is, are the messages accurate? This is what I say, you guys. I've been using the board for 48 years. I didn't come out in the public until 39 years of using this tool with my first book, because it was like I needed to do many, many years with this tool, assessing the messages over time. Now, what I find is I got started in 73. Now everything's sped up. We're talking about the veil being lifted. It's so much more easier to make contact with the other dimensions that I find that you don't have to do 39 years to do this. So what I want to say is write down your messages, record them. The purpose of that is to see the accuracy of the messages over time. Don't believe what you get on a Ouija board, you guys. Don't believe anything until your gift is refined. When I work with the board and talking to any kind of energy, I don't necessarily buy that 100%. When I talk to the spirit guides, called the guides, I talk to all the time, they're legit. I've been working with those beings since 1992 when they first came to me. They've been in my life, my whole life. So the thing is, it's like, where's the message coming from? The legitimacy, after over time, you start seeing, is there things about the message that seem to be, whether it's prophetic or makes sense, it resonates with you, it's positive, it's uplifting, it's helping you, then you know you're working with spirits that are like on your side, have your best interest at heart. So don't trust the accuracy out of the box. Don't trust if you just started using this tool. You've got to see it over time. How much time? Well, that could be months. It might even be years. It could be decades. It really depends upon you and how you refine yourself with this tool.
Yeah, I love what you said about practice. Oh, I think we're echoing again. Let's see.
I don't hear echo on my side. Do you hear it, Patrick?
I do, and it's not me because I was muted while Karen told that story.
Maybe it's me. Oh, I was talking. I had to have it on.
Sometimes it just takes it a second. But yeah, it's the same thing as the cards. Just like you said, you know, I've honed the ability to be able to work with a tool. Anybody can do it, but I think, you know, we live in a world, at least in my opinion these days, that people want a quick fix. They want a quick answer. Right. And I think it's more about developing the skill and the ability and working that muscle in a thoughtful, authentic way. And it does take time. I think anybody can do it, but you've got to practice it. Just like you're not going to walk into a big recital theater and be this pianist that wins awards, right? Like you've got to practice. It takes time. Patrick, what do you think about? Do you want to add anything about either psychic tools or communication with spirit or the other side?
I would just say that I do think people tend to resonate more with some and not others. Karen knows that as much as I love Ouija boards, and I definitely don't have as big of a collection as Karen has, but she got me, you know, collecting 4 or 5, 6 Ouija boards. And because I've spent so many hours at Ouija boards with nothing going on, that's for one thing, that's why I don't fear them, because I've sat at them for so long with nothing going on. But I also think I don't have a lot of patience for that. Whereas I definitely have more patience with audio type things, like if I use a spirit box, or even without a spirit box, if I just do some EVP. But I also don't do those things. It's why, like, you know, life is so busy, and when I'm teaching, I come home and you're tired, and I don't very often just think, okay, I am in a place to do spirit communication now, you know? So, but when I do, you know, I have to get myself in a kind of meditative type state and set my intentions, and a lot of times nothing happens. But I do tend to get more when I have like an electronic tool there to guide me, because I'm not, you know, a practicing medium, and or have a spirit box that kind of has another element there to help you. Yeah, I don't know where I was going with that, but
no, it's a good point. I forgot to unmute myself. Because the next question actually piggybacks onto this. So let me go right into that. They asked, how do you know if you are psychic? Like, do you get signs? Do you see synchronicities? Somebody had wrote in this question, and they said sometimes, like, they'll hear or get a message of a word or a phrase or an object, and then they'll like turn on the TV or the radio, and then that thing shows up. So it's like signs and synchronicities. So I think we all get signs and synchronicities, as we talked about earlier in the show. I think Karen, as you were saying, I think a minute ago about, the validity and the accuracy, I think part of knowing if you're psychic and if you're getting real messages is that you pay attention to what's coming in. What are you seeing? What are you hearing? What are you feeling? And then if you do get a message for someone else, let them know what that message is. And if they say, oh yeah, that's right. It's checking for accuracy with the messages you get against yourself and against anybody else that you may get that for. But you got to practice. I've got tons of psychic development students. I'm like, the only way you're going to know if it's your voice or spirit's voice is if you take that information and then say it out loud, if it's a message for somebody, and then check the accuracy of it. But do either of you have kind of tips or thoughts on how to know if you're psychic or signs that you may get? I know a lot of people get angel numbers too.
The only thing I will say is,
go ahead, Patrick.
I did take a few kind of psychic mediumship 101 courses when I first started kind of this journey. And I remember, learning about psychometry and trying to practice holding objects and, learning meditation. One of the first books, and I always laugh, I jumped into this spiritual journey way too hardcore and I wasn't ready for it. Like some of the first books that I read were a lot of channeling books and astral travel. And girlfriend, I was not ready for some astral travel and channeling at the beginning, but I was fascinated by it, right? But I do remember sitting in one of these trainings and that night it was, okay, we're going to meet your spirit guide and learn who your spirit guide was. And I'm probably sitting there half skeptic like usual. And when it got to be my turn, as I sat there and I tried to go into whatever trance I knew how to go into, I definitely blurted out the word Merlin. And I'd never ever, I hadn't thought about, I mean, I know the character of Merlin, but I hadn't thought about it in years. And I've since found out that there are a lot of people who have a spirit guide with the name Merlin. I had no clue about that. And so I blurted that out, and the whole rest of the night, I was like, oh my God, did that just come through me? So I do sometimes refer to my spirit guide as Merlin, even though I'm like, I don't really know if it's Merlin. And I know a lot of spirit guides say they don't have names anyway. They're just like,
right.
Give us whatever name you want to. So I always think about that. Like, I know they say everybody is psychic to some point. Everybody has abilities. And I do believe that there are some of us that really kind of don't. But I know that I have that moment, I had that moment where I just blurted out the name of my spirit guide.
I love that. Let's go on to the next question. What are orbs? And I think, Patrick, you and I have talked about orbs before, and you're kind of on the fence of whether you believe orbs are real and if they contain energy. So I'd love for both of you to weigh in. I've had different color orbs in different photos and different locations, and where there wasn't any windows or anything like that. A lot of outdoor photos have different colored orbs in them. But what do you both think? Karen, do you want to take this one first?
I'll be happy to. Yes, I do believe in orbs. I've got a lot of information on orbs. It's coming out in my next book. And I've spoken with the spirit guides about orbs. I've spoken with Rosemary about orbs. I've spoken with a few different people in the afterlife about orbs. And so, but also I'll tell you this, and I think I told you the story, Patrick. In fact, I know I did. So I have these night vision goggles, you guys. And the night vision goggles, I'll go outside and I can look for lights in the sky, anomalous and things, and you can see everything. It's pretty amazing. And when I lived in the desert here, but when I was in the desert in California, I could see some really cool stuff. And I must say, I think it was black ops stuff, like our military things were flying around at night. I can't say they were alien. I don't know that. But let me say this. One night I had my board partner with me, Rodney, who Patrick also knows, with one of his friends, Jack. And Jack's a cop. He's like, oh, let me see your night vision goggles. So we're outside, look at my night vision goggles. Jack looks at them. And then Rodney looks at him. Rodney goes, oh my God, Karen, you're not going to believe. He's going like this. He goes, quick, look. He goes, look above Jack's head. I look. There's this giant ball the size of a basketball, you guys, glowing with little lattice structures in it, just oozing and going, ooh, and then going around like this. And all of a sudden it went and shot off across my pool. We followed it. Now, Jack couldn't see. He had his naked eyes. I couldn't see with my naked eyes. Rodney couldn't see with his naked eyes. We could only see it when we had the binoculars or the night vision on, because it's like a light. So there was something there, you guys, and it was huge. It was not a bird. It was not a moth. It was large. So I know there was something there. And so I got really intrigued with orbs at that point. Not just the ones you see in photos, you can't really prove those, but this was a legit one moving around. I don't have it filmed or anything like that, but I'm so excited somebody else saw it. In fact, Rodney saw it first, then I saw it. We will never go, oh, it was just my mind or imagination, because we both saw it. All right, so this is what I believe orbs are. I believe there's a combination. I'm just going to go through just an overall thing. I'm not going to go into all the details, but I think overall it's a form of consciousness that's visiting us and moves in that form, and we're not even aware of it. So I believe people can project orbs. If you're thinking about somebody, it's almost like remote viewing. Let's say I'm thinking about you, Dallisa, where you are now in Texas, and I'm thinking about you. I could project a thought from there, and it might take a shape of this energetic field, and not everybody can see with their naked eyes. I haven't seen with my naked eyes, you guys. I see them with either the electronic eye, such as the camera, or electronic eye, such as night vision. So, but I believe it's a consciousness, and consciousness can come from many different places and many different fields and many different dimensions. That's all I'm going to say about it right now.
Okay, yeah, I've seen them with my eyes.
Oh my God, I would die to do that. Okay, tell us.
It's not really that great of a story. I was in the bathtub one night and I didn't have any bubbles. There was no bubble bath.
Okay, I was going to say bubbles float around.
Very relaxed, and water is an amazing conduit for information. And I'm in the bathtub, and I'm just kind of looking around, and I can see it floating. I also did a group meditation, a group hypnosis class to see past lives. And he had an infrared camera set up at the front of the room, and there were so many orbs flying all around, different speeds, different shapes. Pretty incredible. But Patrick, I don't want to steal your thunder. Did you want to say anything else about orbs?
Well, I will qualify my statements with, I am not a photographic expert, and it's probably, of all the evidence one could get, it's like the least confident, of mine to explain. But I just remember one of my guests of the show is Carl Pfeiffer. I know a lot of people know Carl Pfeiffer. He was on Ghost Hunters Academy on Sci-Fi when they had that year. And he's also been on some other shows and is a part of Hellier, that documentary. And Carl Pfeiffer is really great at explaining photography, particularly digital photography, and how it works now. And the way he explains it, and other people have explained it too, but I really like the way he's explained it in a video. And I sometimes share this video with people who ask me questions. But there is a particular set of years. There's like a couple of years where all of a sudden accessible digital photography comes on the scene, right? When we start seeing the first digital cameras and cell phone cameras, flip phones, things like that. And all of a sudden, that's when this orb phenomena, at least that we know of, the modern version of it, kind of explodes on the scene. And he explains how digital photography is way more conducive to picking up the things that, the excuses that people always say, the dust and the moisture and insects, and just especially when you're outside. When you're inside, it's more likely dust. And there's something about digital photography that picks that up more. So I get really skeptic when it comes to modern day orbs on photography, because I've sat behind a camera at investigations or a night vision camera and, hit a pillow or hit a couch, and you see exactly what everybody's talking about. With that being said, I'm never going to say that none of those things are orbs. I would never say that, because I know some people have experiences with orbs. Some people can, when you can connect different kinds of evidence together with an experience, then my mind's going to be more open to that. But if you see photography that is pre-digital era, you know, there are some really great examples of historic photos where there is something going on in that photo that really does look like an orb. And to me, when they were less of a fad, less kind of cool and popular, that would have stood out. You know, that would have been something to really look at.
Well, having said that, though, how do you explain the one she saw with her naked eye?
Now, well, and I was going to say that too, because that the old school definition of an orb, I believe, has always typically been something you see with your naked eye. It's not like you see it through a camera or on an image. That's what I have always read. And I don't know that there's a you know, Oxford dictionary that has a, you know, definition of an orb, but that's what I've always been told. So yes, I would be very open to learning more and believing that if it, you know, if you saw it with your naked eyes.
For sure. I was like, it's one of those things like we've talked about in today's episode. When it happens, you remember it and it sticks with you because it's so different. Yeah, this is Miss Frankie. Miss Frankie loves to jump on my shows and say hello.
Hi, Miss Frankie.
Yeah.
Meow, meow, meow. I heard Bear up here. I don't know where he went. He was going to come up here. I saw him walking around. I would get him. Bear, come on up here and say hi to Miss Frankie. Come on, Bear.
Get all the cats talking to each other. Okay, I want to do a lightning fast. There's 2 questions, just real quick, 5 to 10 seconds, just or yes or no, whatever. And then I'm going to tell my story, and then we got one doozy for the end. Okay, so are all ghosts former humans, or do they have other forms? So what do you think?
I think they're not all humans. I think other species can also transition. And I'm going to say, like, for example, animals. You can have animal ghosts. That's an easy way to say it. I believe also there are other beings that live on other planets. And when they also transition, you've got those spirits too. So I'm going to say it's a little bit of everything.
I love it. Patrick?
I'm also going to say it's a little bit of everything.
I will agree with that. Let's do, the other question I want to do real quick. Somebody wrote in and asked if we're going to have a bad winter. And I love that question because I was at a grocery store in Texas. I just moved here like, I don't know, maybe almost a month ago. And I went to this new grocery store and talking to the checkout lady. And she says, so did you know, according to the Farmer's Almanac, we're going to have a bad winter?
Yeah.
Oh, and then somebody wrote in and asked, are we going to have a bad winter? So does anybody want to add anything else to that?
Well, I think she was asking specifically California. And I was actually meditating on that question to see if I could get a hit on it. And the answer was yes. It was funny. I have not read the Almanac yet, but I was tying to that question a little earlier. So my answer is yes.
Yes.
Patrick?
I have no hits on that. I've got my fingers on the Ouija board trackpad.
Nothing's happening.
Nothing moved. So I have no answer.
Okay. I love it. I'm going to give you my quick story, and then we're going to do one more viewer question, and then we'll let you know where to connect with all of us. It's been a lot of fun for sure. Mine actually happened on Halloween a couple of years ago. I too have shared the story a few different times before, but it's such a good one. I tend to get premonitions on crimes. It's happened at least 3 times. One with an intruder, one with a bank robbery, and then this one happened on Halloween a few years ago. My mom had asked me to go to a grocery store with her, and I typically don't go grocery shopping with my mother, but I thought, all right, sure, whatever, change things up a little bit. So we go to the grocery store that she shops at, and we walk in, and the first couple of minutes were fine, but then I started to feel panic through my whole body. And I did see a couple people in Halloween costumes, and I thought, well, maybe it's just because it's Halloween and people are dressed up and they don't normally walk through a grocery store with a Halloween costume on. I saw Batman on the produce aisle, right? Like, I'm like, okay, it's just, one of those things. But I kept walking through the store with her, and I kept feeling more and more dread. And we got to the back of the store where the dairy aisle was, and I started getting an intuitive hit that people were going to be running out the back door of the grocery store, and there was going to be sheer panic. And it started to freak me out. And, you kind of think when you're in this kind of position, do you tell somebody? Do you tell your mom? Do you keep quiet? Like, what do you do? Because you don't want to freak anybody out. And so I start seeing all the people in my mind's eye, which looks like a daydream, like running out the back of the store. And I decide I'm going to tell her. And I said, Mom, I think there's going to be something violent that occurs in the store. Here's what I just saw about the people out of the back. And she goes, oh my God, well, do we need to leave right now? And I said, well, what do you have left? She goes, I only have to buy your dad's lemonade. I'll hurry, I promise. So we'll go to the aisle where the lemonade is. And I start hearing through my spirit ear 2 men fighting. And I say to her, do you hear that? And she goes, I don't hear anything. And I said, okay, we really got to go because I feel I'm getting a premonition about something that's going to happen here. And it feels like it's going to be an altercation between 2 men. And I feel like it has to do with a gun and people are just going to be everywhere. And so she and I go to we've never checked out of a grocery store this fast. Thank God it was like bag your own groceries because we were just throwing everything in the bags at that point. We get outside, nothing happens. And we're like, okay, well, thank you. Thank God, nothing happened to us while we were in the store. And honestly kind of wrote it off for the rest of the day, but it was with me. And the next day my mom goes to get her hair done. And the woman says, hey, did you hear what happened at the store yesterday? Mom goes, no, what? Turns out the store that was right next to, like down the street from the one I was at, there was an altercation involving 2 men and a gun. And they went into the store and everybody started running and they went out the back of the store. So I looked, my mom had the grocery receipt, and so it was time stamped. I was getting the hit right before it happened. Ooh. So I was on, right there on that wavelength of that crime. I like that I get those hits because, especially if I feel like I can do something about it. When I had the hit on the intruder, it happened to me, and they warned me a couple of hours before it happened. So I'm grateful. I never want them to take that away from me, but it definitely, calls into question, what do you say? How do you say it? And when? But that's my Halloween spooky story that happened on Halloween.
I got major chills on that. It gave me chills, major chills to my body, like sick. Like I was like, ugh.
Yeah.
Wow.
I remember asking you because you shared that story on my podcast when you were a guest. And I remember asking you, and you already answered the question, but I was like, how annoying must that be to have to live with that constantly and have to decide, am I going to tell people and look like a crazy person that there's about to be a shooting, or do I keep that to myself? And then how do you live with yourself if it happens and you didn't say, like, I can't imagine having that pressure.
Yeah. And the one with the bank robbery, I have a family member who's a detective, and I said, listen, I didn't see it in real time. I saw it in another frequency. What do you think I should do? Because they were looking for the perpetrator. And he's like, just call Crime Stoppers and tell them what you know. So I did. It's like, hey, I had a vision. It's like, oh, there's the wacky psychic.
You said it like that? You go, I'm a medium and I had a vision, and you said it like that?
I don't remember if I told them I was a psychic, but I may have, because how do you explain that otherwise? I mean, so yeah, I tend to get crimes. I work with families, and I've worked with a private detective on looking at some of her case files. And I love true crime. And so it doesn't surprise me that Spirit has me working on that kind of frequency. But yeah, so that's my story. We got one more question, and then we're going to close this out because I know everybody wants to go enjoy their Halloween. So somebody wrote in and said, how do you know you are dead? I'm seriously questioning if we're living in the afterlife right now. So Patrick, did you send this in?
I think this is one of my nerds that sent that in. I think
so too.
Yeah.
So what do you think? Do you think that this is life, over there is life, both of it is? Like, what do you think?
I'm not going to lie and act like I haven't pondered that at some point in my life. You've had like a weirdo day or something strange happens, and I think, would I know if I was, dead right now? Dead? Or, and in a way, I kind of hope it's that way, because no one wants to have a painful death or, die in some crazy accident. And and have it be torturous. So I would much rather it take a while for me to get the clue that I'm dead than definitely, be hit over the head with it and know it. But I guess that's something we all have to kind of figure out. I guess maybe none of us really for sure 100% know. I don't know. Even if you're definitely confident with your mediumship skills, are you super confident about how it's going to happen?
I mean, I think sometimes I wonder, like, am I hooked up to some machine in some dimension and I'm just a robot that's being told what to do? Some people believe that this is quote unquote hell, or that we're living through all of these challenges, that this is the hard part. But yeah, I don't know. Karen, what do you think?
Well, I like what you said about hooked up to a machine. That's kind of like the story of the Matrix. And there's a lot of stories you'll see that kind of parallel that. But what I think is this: it's like they talk about the dream. Is this just a dream that we're in right here, and do we wake up to another dream, or we wake up to where we really are alive? I think that this is just a postulation. I mean, I know hypotheses. I would say, we're alive, but we're also alive when we're dead. So it's like, so a lot of people say, if you talk to them in the afterlife, they'll say, well, you know what? You have no idea what living's like until you are in this space of spirit, because they're saying there's words that you can't even use and put to what you could experience in this other dimension. I've heard that time and time and time again, where I feel like here we're so stuck in our limitations of our computer brain and what our physical body allows us to do, the apparatus of what we've been given, our sight, our hearing, our touch, our smelling. Where in the other dimensions, it's like you lose all that, is what I've heard, what I've been told, and that you have so much more access to your soul, so much access to who you really are, your spirit and spark, Dallisa. Here we go. There's your word, spirit and spark. So are we alive now? Yes. Are we alive then? Yes. The spirit guides they say, we don't understand that word death. We know why you use it, but we're here to tell you it's just life after life after life after life. So I think we're always living. And it makes me think of that wonderful movie, you guys, with Nicole Kidman in it. What's it called? The Others. Did you guys remember that movie? Right? I'm not going to ruin it, but who is really alive and who's really considered transitioned or deceased? That makes you think, and I love that, because this is what's great about Halloween. It makes you think about all the possibilities of spirit, and that's the beauty of this time of the season.
That movie is so hard to find, by the way, but it is.
Ooh, I love it.
All right, everybody needs to go watch The Others. Comment and let us know on this video. Have you seen the movie? I'd love to hear from everybody that's been watching this video today. Let us know, what stories did you like? What questions did you like? If we didn't answer your question today, what would you like to know? Comment and let us know. I'll be happy to monitor those for us. So I want us just to quickly go around and let people know where they can find you. You both have been delightful, and I'm sure people are going to want to listen to Patrick's podcast and go on Karen's website, read Karen's books. So Patrick, go ahead and let us know, how can people find you?
So it's real easy. It's on pretty much any podcast app you can think of, anywhere you get podcasts. I don't know of any that I'm not on. Or you could just go to bigseance.com. So it's the Big Seance podcast. And I'm just going to say, after y'all are done watching this, go fill up the candy bowl again, because you've probably had some kids swing by and it probably needs to be refilled. So go spend some time doing that.
I love it. I love it. Karen, how can people find you?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much for having me here. And happy Halloween, everybody. You can find me at KarenADahlman.com, and also go to my YouTube channel, which is Karen A. Dahlman. Put my middle initial in there. I have like 220 videos all about the stuff we're talking about here: the supernatural, the paranormal, the mystical, and of course the Ouija board, our favorite tool to use at Halloween season. And also my website, as I mentioned, you can join my newsletter there, and it'll tell you what events I've got going on, coming up. And it's been an absolute delight to be here with you guys during All Hallows Eve.
Absolutely. And I am at spiritandspark.com. I do a weekly YouTube show where I talk about all my predictions for the week ahead. And in my Spark Plug group, I talk about all the things I can't say on mainstream social media anymore. There's a lot of crazy stuff that's coming. And
yes.
I love talking about it. So we will all do this again. Happy Halloween, everybody. I'm going to show you a couple of closing slides just so you can see where to find us at as a recap. So here we go. All right, we'll see you next time.
Thank
Bye,
you.
everybody.
Bye.
Bye, guys.